Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Scouser Tommies. I'm Jim Boardman and I'm with Reid. It's that most wonderful time of the year, the time when there's all that positive stuff, isn't there, about Christmas? So there's also all that negative stuff, and it can wind you up. But all the excitement, I think, is probably the cause of it. And as football fans, the excitement right now is great because we just saw an amazing win. But if you think back to last weekend against the Manx, we saw a dreadful game, basically because one team turned up looking for a point, playing the way that many a lower league side has played against us down the years, and well, they don't seem embarrassed by it, but I would have been if I was them. But their excitement came back last night against West Ham, and I think that stands us in good stead for this weekend against Arsenal. Last night, though, of course, can we use that as a basis to say that we're back to the best, back to how we had been, that the Man United game was a blip? A lot of people saying that before the Man United game we'd kind of got away with wins, which I kind of get where you're coming from, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the win, I suppose. Last night against West Ham, absolutely hammered them, pardon the pun, but you just look who's in the dugout and you think, well, yeah, Mr. Moyes, it's not his favourite place to come, is it? But I think on the whole, there's plenty to be excited about, but, well, we'll see. What do you reckon, Jay?
Yes. Where do you start with all that? Moisey, yeah, and is he the Grinch at Christmas? Who knows? But I suppose it's one of these things. He doesn't like coming to Anfield, does he? Because he doesn't get any presents out of us. And in the season of giving out presents, I suppose we gifted Manchester United the points, much to the delight of the United faithful who celebrated like they'd won another trophy. Maybe they've fallen into the Everton paradox of being that long since they've won a trophy. They'll celebrate the result at Anfield, isn't it is one.
I think they celebrate it when there's a dry day now and that roof doesn't leak as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that they couldn't leak a few goals against us, which would have been nice, but I suppose, football is one of these funny old games, as they say, where, it can flip from one game to another, and the feeling Monday morning or Sunday evening after that game, was one of a bit of, disheartening, and we felt like we should have really put them to bed because they were, severely weakened in terms of what United would call their better 11, and we didn't really have any sort of answers, and we were knocking on the door more than the Christmas carol singers at this time of year, but we were getting no answers and no change out of them, and it did sort of feel as though an opportunity sort of wasted, once again City dropping points, and the opportunity to put our noses in front going into this weekend's fixture against Arsenal. But last night's cup game, was the perfect tonic, racking up the goals, multiple different goal scorers, lads given opportunities and seizing them with both hands. And, the feeling and the vibe now as we record this on the Thursday afternoon just before the Arsenal game on Saturday evening is one of positivity and one of, you're questioning now. We've got so many options, and even though we are missing a numerous amount of players, there's players there who last night staked the claim for the starting berth on Saturday, and you think, let's go into this game, and there's been a rallying cry from Klopp for more up the ante in terms of atmosphere, which we'll come to later on. But I think now that the stage is set, and hopefully, it's not some sort of nativity, it'll be a West End showcase to sort of say in what we see on Saturday, because he put all the glitz and glamour out for Sunday's game against Manchester United, and as much as we tried, as we say, it sort of fell flat on its face like a broken donkey in a Christmas play. But hopefully this one we'll see the shining lights, and the Northern Stars will guide us to the top of the table.
There's so many different Christmas references in that. That's probably broke the record. But yeah, Moyes, Grinch. That's a bit cruel on the Grinch, to be honest. He's a much more rounded, happy guy. Although, to be honest with you now, looking at Moyes, he doesn't even look bothered anymore. He's kind of resigned himself to just losing at Anfield. It's like, he's probably glad he was only 5-1. Excuse me, my voice is going. It's not because of a load of carol singing, I can assure you. But yeah, I think just looking at Saturday, it's such a frustrating game, and maybe we can come on to what Roy Keane said afterwards about what Virgil had said afterwards. But that game was so frustrating because I think we did try. I think we had made the wrong choices time and again. We had shots when we shouldn't have had shots. We had an extra pass when we shouldn't have had an extra pass. And I'm sure every single Liverpool player, if they were sort of sat in front of a video of that whole game again, they were themselves were picking up where they got it wrong and where they should have done a different thing and where they made the wrong choices, because time after time they did. It was interesting to see the changes in midweek, because that takes a few of those sort of, if you like, first 11 names out and brings some others in to give them a chance. And to me, I think the biggest issue on Saturday was, I don't know, there's so many different issues, but it was just this final touch. The frustration for me was I thought we'd dealt with all these sort of uber defensive teams that come to Anfield looking for a point and maybe hoping to snatch one on the counter, because we've had them for years, and I think it was something that before Klopp came along we'd suffered with. I remember Rafa struggling against teams like that, that came here, we struggled to get past them. Brendan Rodgers couldn't deal with that kind of thing a lot of the time. This was the Liverpool side that was often scoring more goals than it leaked, but leaking a lot of goals. But again, we'd play teams like that at Anfield and we'd suffer. I think Roy Hodgson is kind of that kind of manager, so I'm not sure what his record was like in those games. But I can remember that West Brom game and Klopp getting ridiculed at the time because he went and did the fist bumps to the cop after we drew against West Brom. But I think when you take it all in context and what it was, we'd actually finally found a way to get past this kind of team who just comes with no intention of entertaining, no intention of winning, unless they get lucky. Anti-football, I think people can sometimes call it. If I was a Man United fan, I'd probably be glad of the point because it's better than losing. But I'd be ashamed personally about how we got it. If I saw a Liverpool team doing that, I'd hate to see it. Maybe for me, it kind of goes back years. Talking of Arsenal, when we played Arsenal in 1989 and we just needed to avoid losing by more than 2 goals, and we came out in a totally un-Liverpool way that night and basically looked to just try and get a draw or just trying to keep the score down. We didn't, to me, go out to try and win, and we lost 2-0 and didn't win the title, and that stuck with me for years. And so I couldn't deal with that as a Man United fan. If I was a Man United fan, seeing that on at the weekend, just so boastful about it. But I think in a way that what happened was there was like a reaction. So we'll talk about the atmosphere, because to me the atmosphere from a distance was much better last night than it was at the weekend, but so were the players. And we always say, like, which one starts it? Do the players get the crowd up or do the crowd get the players up? And sometimes they're both kind of sitting there waiting for the other to do it. it doesn't matter who does it first or once it's going, because it just keeps going. And to me, the atmosphere was much better last night. But and I mean, maybe we can talk about it. Cup games can be a bit different. You sit sometimes in different places because you may not just get all the same seats as you would. You know, there is a bit more flexibility sometimes on where people sit, perhaps. But it's and also a different crowd of people, because I know there were a lot of people offering Spurs for last night, Spurs tickets. So maybe people couldn't go last night. So people who don't get to go every game were getting a chance, and that can make a difference. But chalk and cheese are two performances, but I think the thing that stands out to me in terms of the difference between the two sides, and I didn't actually get to see the Europa League game last week, so I can't comment on this. Some said he wasn't great in that, but to me, one of the big differences was Curtis Jones. I think anyone I spoke to before the Mank game said we need to bring him in and get him playing, because if you think back to what he was like up until the debacle at Spurs, I mean, he was like a revelation to us. And then he's kind of had that suspension, not really got back in the starting lineup properly. And I think we've suffered because the other defenders, the midfielders haven't been playing great. He's been overlooked by people who haven't been as good as him. And last night we saw the Curtis Jones that we saw earlier on in the season. This young player who to me I think has definitely found his feet. Now, I don't know whether you agree. Should was that the difference? I mean, that wasn't the difference. We can't put it all in one player. But to me, that was a big part of the difference between last night and Saturday.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Yeah, I think I want them in the lineup for the United game. I think when that team she dropped at the weekend, it was probably a surprise to most that we'd gone with Endo, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai in midfield. I think, the potential for one of those lads, Endo or Gravenberch start was probably expected by most. But I think, on the whole rounded basis of the Liverpool fan base, I think the all four Curtis Jones would come back in, and it was, for several reasons in terms of what Curtis Jones brings to us as a team. I think we're overall defensively more sound. I think, in possession we're progressive, but we're also a lot more secure in possession. And I think, him coming into that game against Manchester United, with all due respect to Endo or Gravenberch, he knows the magnitude of that game. No matter where you're from in the world, Liverpool versus Manchester United is probably the pinnacle of English football in terms of a fixture. For years and years, decades even, it's always been us and Manchester United at the top of the game, whether it be, the 70s, 80s, 90s, 90s, whatever. Obviously the rise of Chelsea and City through other means have meant that they've risen to the heights of the English football game, but historically that's the biggest two teams in the country. And wherever you're from in the world, whether it be Netherlands, Japan, Central Africa, whatever, you probably know who those two teams are. But for a local lad, there's just that little bit of extra sauce on the occasion, and it was a surprise that he didn't start. And I think he come on in the second half, but I honestly can't remember. I've sort of blurred that game from my memory now because there wasn't overly too much to remember from it. But
it was on quite late from what I can remember. Like too late for it to make a difference. It was already done, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think, we fast forward to last night, and cup games present opportunities, and driving home, we had the likes of TalkSport because, we were just trying to find out who we got in the draw. So we thought, well, let's just go to, the nominal bog standard sports station because that's the probably the best chance of finding out directly who we got in the draw. As it turned out, social media / Twitter was a lot faster than TalkSport. Surprise, surprise. But there was a plethora of West Ham fans calling up, like bemoaning the Messiah for, his team selection and resting players such as James Ward-Prowse and Lucas Paqueta and Kurt Zouma. He had made, I think, 6 changes it was to his starting lineup in the weekend victory against Wolves, and lo and behold, Liverpool had made 6 changes, and you're thinking these West Ham fans are so entitled, like many others, United to be also, that they should be, the God-given rights, and why aren't the best players playing? And it's a cup game, it's opportunities, they present themselves. We made numerous changes. We left players like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah and Luis Diaz on the bench, and Alisson weren't even in the squad. So we had made just as many changes that they had, and I think the overriding factor was, our lads were given an opportunity and they seized it. And I think that was arguably maybe the best game we've seen from numerous lads. Costas Tsimikas being one, Curtis Jones, obviously, as we mentioned, Harvey Elliott another. These lads seem to all put what they've got in their lockers together on a whole performance for one night, and it now presents itself as a problem for the manager in a good way, because how can you drop Curtis Jones for the Arsenal game of the weekend? Can you drop Harvey Elliott? Can Costas Tsimikas be dropped at left back? Who knows? Probably or not. Joe Gomez at right back, and I thought, we've said many a times that the whole Trent experiment, inverted fullback, sort of hybrid midfield, whatever you want to call it, sort of role, I'm not sold on it because it leaves us exposed. And I thought, last night we went very simple, 4 at the back, fullbacks getting up and down the line. We allowed Dominic Szoboszlai space in midfield to do Dominic Szoboszlai things, and if that's smashing in rockets from 25 yards, then sign me up, I'm all for it. And a balance of, Endo doing pretty good defensive midfield actions in terms of, I think it was noted by someone near me in the car, like, all he's doing is winning the ball back and passing it. I was like, well, that's all he's doing.
What else am I supposed to do then?
That is literally his MO. Like, you win the ball back and you give it to lads who are better at football than you, with all due respect, mate.
Yeah.
Like, those lads are more skillful and more technically agile than you on the ball. So if your job is to just win it back and give it, you've done your job in spades, mate. And, in giving it to Curtis Jones, who can do so much with the ball on and off as well. I think the second goal epitomised, he's got the physique, he's got the ability to drive. And you want to see more of that now, because, we know the talent's there. And let's just say on a regular basis, we went 18 games unbeaten with him in the team as a regular feature at the back end of last season. Let's see more of this lad, and let's hope that that's a catalyst not only for, this season in terms of we're now 3 games in essence away from a trophy. One win actually wins you that trophy. You win one of the semi-finals, and we've seen before in a cup final you can draw 0-0 with Chelsea and you can beat them in a penalty shootout. It's been proven a couple of years ago. So we're fingertips away from Wembley once again, and the opportunity to put a trophy in the cabinet come the end of February, and then, as many managers have referenced, it's a springboard for hopefully more success as the season goes on, because that feel good factor's there. Then let's go and seize this opportunity while it presents itself to us, because other trophies are there, but a lot more obstacles have got to be overcome to get to them. And I'm really excited and hopeful for an opportunity to put one in there in February.
Yeah, same here. That competition, I know I kind of almost forgot about this fixture, to be honest, because my head's so much on the league, and the league could be so much lower down in priorities these days. when I was growing up as a Liverpool fan as a kid, we kept winning it, and it wasn't a low down the priorities for me then. It's kind of gone that way now. But I think this is the thing. I mean, once you get to this stage, you're at the business end of it. You can see the squads are getting stronger. There's no way if we were playing, we won it in our first round in this competition, whatever that is, do we come in at round 3, whatever it is, that we'd have been playing all of those players that played last night. I'm sure, I can't imagine Van Dijk starting, for example, early on in the competition. But what I liked about last night was how we was able to kind of, I don't know if it did us harm having a week off the week before the Manc game. And it sounds mad with all the complaints we've had about the 12:30 kickoffs and games coming too close together. Did it take some momentum away? And this in a way was good because we got to see Kwanzaa played the whole game. He played on both sides as centre-back, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a different partner for each half kind of thing. And that meant that, they're likely to be the starting back centre-backs at the weekend, not Kwanzaa. And they both had a bit of a game, but not enough to kind of do them in. Jones, obviously, I think he should start against Arsenal, even though we played the full game. He's only, 22? I'm sure he'll be fit. But having these different players around, we could bring decent players on and taking pretty decent players off. And I just felt it was a good sign of how strong our squad actually is, despite the injuries and the quality that we can bring in. I mean, there's no way that starting lineup from last night would be your starting lineup in like a Champions League final or something. If you had every player available, that just wouldn't happen. But he gave Queven a chance to play again. Sure, he'll be playing all the way to the final if we get there. Gives Ali a rest. But looking at Joe Gomez, I mean, he played both fullbacks, didn't he? Played both roles. He's an option. I think the thing with Trent though as well is then that gave us an opportunity later on to just have him as a midfielder. And I'm totally getting what you're saying, because I just feel that it's the kind of thing that can act like a little gimmick. So you think lining up with 4 in the back, and then all of a sudden one of the fullbacks goes to the centre of midfield and plays a different way. It can unsettle teams. They all know we're going to do it now, so they've all got plans. They've all drilled it into the team. This is how we're going to play. And if they switch from having 4 at the back to moving Trent to the middle, this is how we're going to play. It seemed pretty obvious against the Mancs actually that they did seem to adapt to us changing back to a kind of more, moving Trent away from being this hybrid player to actually having one set role and having a fullback or whatever separate. They seem to react to that and get even more defensive, as if they'd actually had 2 sets of the training they'd done all week. They had 2 sets of plans basically. The one against Plan A and Plan B, both of which is just to defend like mad against us. But having those plays, we only had 4. I think I got on Saturday. I looked at the bench for Sunday, sorry, I keep thinking, forget me days of the week. Looked at the bench.
Football was a Saturday for you.
That's how it's easy
to slip in.
Yeah, you just think of it that way. Sunday, we had 4 subs who could, you'd reasonably expect to come on without there being some kind of emergency taking place, because that's where we got to, which I know is a luxury compared to what we used to have with subs, but it kind of made me feel, right, well, in a way, the starting lineup was almost decided, apart from Curtis. And as you say, the only reason I'd go against having Curtis in the starting lineup is if it was, I think something Rafa said once about Gerrard, he was too passionate. And what I think Rafa actually meant was he was going to get sent off if he carried on the way he was, and that was in a derby match. I think if you just need to, like you say, Curtis can tell the others what to do. Curtis can tell the others what to do by the look on his face in a game that means so much. They fully get it. I don't think he'd lose his head. But afterwards, I need to go back and have a listen to some of the quotes, but the way there was some sort of interviews with him and with Klopp afterwards about different things, and it sounds like there's a bit of Curtis not even yet being as confident as he should be, if that makes sense, and that he's still he's better than he realises he is. And then there was some interesting comments from Cody afterwards, who kind of got to present him with the man of match award, talking about his his hard work, and he says a lot of people don't see it because it's all on the training ground. And I'm thinking, well, we saw some hard work tonight, but I'm thinking maybe there is a lot more still to come from Curtis. But I mean, Dominic last night, that's the best I've seen him play in a good few games, and that's probably coming from this difference in formation and difference in this different way of playing. I just think, stick to the 4 defenders, stick to the 3 in the midfield if that's how we're doing it, wherever we choose. And if we're gonna have Trent moving into more of a free role, for want of a better word. I mean, Steve McManaman used to have a free role years ago, but we never sort of left ourselves short at the back. We just moved. It just changed how our front men and midfield men were playing. If we're going to give Trent these roles, I think it's better to just have a code word, and every so often use it when we think the time's right. You know, not sort of plan to have it as an integral part of the game, and maybe only use it when we're reacting to a situation. So if we can see at this moment in time in this game the way this is going, let's get Trent playing in the middle for a bit. Do it, but just feels to me like it's one of those things where it's been decided up before the match. Right, so Trent, you're going to do this, and maybe you give it the first 5 or 10 minutes, then you're going to move in the middle. No, just don't do it that way. React to it when there's something there to do it for.
Yeah, I think first of all, on the Curtis thing, I think what Klopp's comments referred to, there was a situation in the first half. I noticed it myself from the stands where he was going a bit mental on the sideline. Klopp's going mad at someone there, and it was, you can kind of figure out from players' body language who it was, and it was Curtis. And I think what it more was in reference to was we had an opportunity for the quick throw-in, and there was a gap between the two centre halves of West Ham, and had Curtis had made the movements forward and the throw-in gone into the path of Curtis Jones, there was a huge space for them to drive through, and I think then it kind of come full circle in the second half, and the second goal, which you referenced earlier on, he seized an opportunity of space and he drove through it, and the end product was a goal. And I think that was something that Klopp was referring to in terms of being able to seize that opportunity to drive through the middle of the park and take the initiative to score. So I think there is a lot more to come from Curtis, and sometimes there's been little knocks and bumps along the road where injuries have sort of curtailed his progress, but the talent's there. There's no denying it. We just want to see it on a more regular basis, and occasions like last night does sort of whet the appetite of wanting to see that on a more regular basis. And there's the same with Dom Szoboszlai and the whole Trent thing. I think Trent coming into the middle of the field, and Salah likes to drift inside that space where Szoboszlai is positioned. It's sort of limiting the areas he can play within. But by dropping Trent to be a more conventional right back role, like Gomez played and up and down the line, and we had Elliott drifting in, but we also had Elliott staying wide at times, and he's a completely different type of player to Mo Salah, but at the same time was very productive last night in his way. It just allowed that space, and I think credit also where it's due to Cody Gakpo in the regards that he's a different number 9 to Darwin Núñez, and he occupies centre halves in a different way. He can drag them out of position. Did he want to follow deep, or did he leave him into space? And I think no slant on the other fellow in Darwin Núñez, but I think last night he had a really good game in terms of his work rate, his production. There was chances coming, and maybe we might have hit on something there with play Darwin from the left, because
yes,
but he looked threatening, and with all due respect to Luis Diaz, he's not at the moment. Gakpo didn't have the best game in terms of an all-round performance, but he got a goal which will do his confidence the world of good. And just keeping football simple at times can actually just lead to really positive results. We had a lot of success in the Jurgen Klopp time of playing a 4-3-3, and maybe yes, the midfield was slightly more functional than what it is now, but it was a simple setup. People knew what the jobs and roles were, and people had areas of the pitch that they excelled in, and maybe just get back to that and keep it simple. And Trent was the best right back in the world for a reason, and he's not playing right back anymore. And you could argue, is he the best midfielder in the world right now? No, because he's not. But he's not no longer probably the best right back in the world because he doesn't play right back anymore. So let's get back to what made us successful. I think we can really achieve something if we actually just go back to to basics in essence, and just do the things that led us to glory in the past.
Yeah, and I think the thing about having the 4-3-3 and players know what their role is and where their place is on the pitch and all the rest of it is, for me, one thing we've always been good at is that we've allowed within that kind of structure, like you look at where players go on the pitch, they're all over the place, and the thing is, they know, you know that Matip's going to go on one of his mad runs or whatever, but maybe Fabinho at the time would have been thinking, right, I'm going to sort of mind the shop a little bit here then, because he's gone on a run. And having that awareness of what each other can do and will do, like the players have got the freedom to do it, to move around like that. And part of the reason they've got the freedom is because they know that there's other people willing to sort of step in and just keep an eye on their bit of the pitch, sort of keep an eye on what's going on and talk to each other and communicate and just playing in a certain way which works. And I think maybe that's why it doesn't work so well with Trent doing this, because when you talk about players going into a part of the pitch they're not normally going into, then there's other players moving out the way to let them do that, and not just to sort of cover what gaps they've left in the defensive point of view, but take up some space that maybe wouldn't have been there in an offensive point of view. And it always just feels that with Trent, it's almost like no, they're all in each other's way almost. I mean, time and again I've seen it where no disrespect to anyone, there's times when Trent's sitting there in the middle and not getting the ball. It's just not, and there's times when he is, but other players are just being basically, if you like, cancelled out because he's there in that position. And it feels like, I don't know, at times like they're under each other's feet. So I'm hoping that it's just something we don't see as much. And whether we sort of say, let's start playing Joe Gomez at right back and let Trent be a central midfielder is another matter. I think, I don't know, it's a mouth-watering idea. Everyone thinks about having Trent in the middle. And I think it's not something we should say never again have him in as a centre midfielder. We should keep trying it, but it's just that thing. It's one or the other. And it's what you're saying as well, is we're watering him down. We're turning a player who might have been 8 or 9 out of 10 as a right back into a 7 or 8, and then it's going to be a 6 or a 7. And if he's not playing enough in midfield, he's doing this half and half. He's not getting to him, improve his ratings as a midfielder either. So we just need to, in my view, just stick to one or the other, and hoping we're not talking about it soon. Talking to midfielders, I just thought I'd pick up quickly on Roy Keane, because Van Dijk was frustrated after that Man game. One team came to win, the other didn't, basically, was what Van Dijk was saying. And Roy Keane wasn't happy. And I just say, to me, this would be ringing alarm bells as a Man United fan, because he's saying, we had Van Dijk speaking there, obviously a lot of arrogance coming out of him, dissing United like that, saying only one team wanted to win. Man United are buzzing with 1 point. Now, at that point now, I would be absolutely livid as a Man United fan. Yeah, I'd be glad of the point. Relieved is more the word. I wouldn't be buzzing. And if you had a time machine and you brought Roy Keane into the future from, 10 years ago, Roy Keane, to look at that comment that he made, he'd be mortified. That's not... I can though, to be fair, remember Liverpool going to the games at their place and clinging on. But we were a team that was on the slide. We weren't a team that had just recently been even by Man United standards, it's not that long since they've won things. The amount of money they're spending, they're definitely not the lowest spenders in the league, etc. It just strikes me as mad. Apparently Virgil has responded saying, he said, I like Roy Keane. I bet he does. If he said that, then it's fine. He's Man United through and throughout, and I understand he could react like that. But I felt what I said. There's absolutely no arrogance in that. Everyone who watched the game probably felt the same. We move on. We had the opportunity, we couldn't score, and that's the frustrating part. And I think really the main thing in this is Roy Keane can say what he wants. Jamie Carragher can, Gary Neville, all of them can. The players can say what they want after a game that they've just played. And the best answer to all of this is just get out on the pitch and make a difference. And I think last night Liverpool did that. So, Roy Keane, I think you lost it.
Roy Keane, arrogance,
My God.
It's a bit rich, innit? But I think, it kind of says more about Manchester United than it does about Liverpool and Virgil van Dijk, doesn't it, really? Let's nail this one. Like, United were the most arrogant of teams for decades,
Yeah.
Roy Keane, look at the teams he played in, he was arrogant, oozing out of them. And they went often to games, expected to win, and if they didn't get things going their way, just have a look at some of the videos of, I think we've referenced it before, when Middlesbrough awarded a penalty at Old Trafford, and how their referee awarded a penalty against Manchester United in their own backyard, and that's uber arrogance. That's borderline over intimidation as well. But it was disappointing, and I think that another thing just to pick up on from last week as well, from the European game, which was not overly a lot to write home about, was people were saying Jarell Quansah was arrogant in some of the things that he said, because to quote the lad in rough terms, he's sorry that Joel Matip got injured, but his intention this season was always to take Joel Matip's place, and people were calling Jarell Quansah arrogant for saying such things and disrespectful. But he's a young lad, and he's been given an opportunity at Liverpool to try and make a career for himself, and he had the unfortunate pleasure of playing under Joey Barton. We won't speak about him and what type of human being him and his family are, at Bristol Rovers last season. And he came to Liverpool and obviously being told by Klopp and the coaching team, you're going to be around the first team and you're going to get opportunities. It's up to you now, son, if you want to take them. And the only way you take them is by excelling in your performance. And borderline arrogance or borderline very confident in the fact that he's got ability, and he can play. And you mentioned him earlier on, he played both sides of the defensive partnership last night, and he looked completely at home. Some people may have labelled their goal as a mistake, but I thought he done okay. And he if anything, Jared Bowen is left-footed. He put Jared Bowen onto his right foot, and he struck a goal into the top corner. And sometimes you just got to take your hat up and say that's a really good goal, and the defender couldn't do much more. He forced him to his weaker foot. He tried to drive him inside, and everything else he done in the game, if you didn't know otherwise, you would have said he was a fully accomplished, mid-20s centre-half who'd been playing the game for years, because he just looks so at home and so at ease. And if his goal this season is to take Joel Matip's place as, is Joel Matip the third centre-half in our team? Arguably so, because Gomez is covering full-back. Then why not have that sort of approach to the game? Because that's what you want, an elite mentality of wanting to achieve and take the lad's shirt off his back who's playing in the first 11. It's not arrogance, it's the drive and desire to succeed. And if you don't have the drive and desire to succeed and you're just happy just bumbling along, then Liverpool isn't the place for you. Maybe Manchester United is, just as Anthony Martial or the other fella Anthony who plays on the other wing. They're quite happy to pick up a paycheck and put in substandard performances, and that'll fly in some clubs and some places, but it won't fly at Liverpool. And if you want to succeed, you've got to take the opportunity. And reference again to the likes of Elliott and Jones last night. Opportunities present themselves. Go and take it.
You're not just stepping out into the cold to smoke. You're stepping out on your family, and you're stepping out on yourself. Smoking is a dangerous game. You're playing with your health, your finances, and your life. Make it make sense. Quitting is already tough as it is. Don't take this journey alone. Present yourself the gift of help this season by dialing pound 250, using keyword quit today, or visiting makeitmakesense.org. That's makeitmakesense.org.
Hello. I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's the thing I've always said. I remember saying this for a while when we're talking about the transfer windows and who we bring in. And it can be quite easy for people to go, why do we need to buy another player for that position? We've got X. Why do we need to buy a player for that position? We've got Y. Well, the reason is that players get injured, they have dips in form, and there's nothing better to get a player to sort of produce his best form maybe than knowing there's a lad warming up on the bench who might just take his place on the pitch and might take his place in the starting lineup next time. We do rotate, but players all want to be the one that's first on the team sheet when it's the big games, the major games, the finals, and the title deciders or whatever other big games are coming up. Competition's healthy. If Quansah had turned around and said, my ambition is to have Virgil van Dijk's place by Christmas, that would have been arrogance, I'd give you that, because that's a bit far-fetched, a bit high. But also it's ambitious, and that's the thing, it's a realistic ambition. A realistic target is basically to give Klopp a problem over who does he pick, to start games, who does he pick as his sort of first choice defender on the bench, if that's the right, doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. He's most important defender on the bench, whatever. As you say, the third centre back. That's a good ambition. Make Klopp have that sort of dilemma over whether he's got to say to Joel, pretty sure Joel's contract's up at the end of this season. Could it have been a conversation that's been had with Quansah behind the scenes? Is look, we're not sure what's happening to Joel yet. Maybe we'll keep him, maybe we'll not. But you'll be doing yourself no harm if you can kind of get into a position where instead of offering him a contract, we're offering you a better one. If you're a player, a young lad, you're going to take that. I just love how accomplished he looks. How, like you say, he doesn't look like a young lad. He's no rabbit in the headlights with him whatsoever. Every player makes mistakes. That's front to back. Van Dijk makes them. It's football. It's what happens, and it's how they react to those mistakes. Like you didn't see him go to pieces afterwards. And I've seen so many Liverpool players down the years who've looked okay, then they have one bit of a bad moment in one bit of a game, and then they just go to pieces, and they're never the same player again. It doesn't strike me as that kind of. I'm not jinxing him. But these are the players we need. We're clearly not going to spend loads of money on players, and if we can have players like Elliott knocking on the door, players like Quansah knocking on the door, then it's going to save us money in the long run. What money we do have to spend, then maybe we go out and buy some amazing star player rather than having to sort of spread it out on lesser players. Endo's another player that we didn't get for a lot of money. There's a bit of promise in him. I think the worry always with players like Endo is that you pay a bit less for him, you wonder what they're going to be like, and then you sort of think, well, can we rely on them every game? But the best way for us to see that is when he turns out he's just proving it. This kind of brings us a little bit onto the Arsenal game, because we've played probably the strongest available side, give or take Curtis Jones on Saturday. Played West Ham, played a 6-change team, brought players on at half-time. We need to work out what kind of team we want to play against Arsenal, because I don't know, I feel like they're there for the taking. I mean, the disappointment last weekend was that we played last all weekend, and we started the weekend at the top of the table, we ended it second, but we're literally, the title is still in our hands. If we beat Arsenal, we go ahead of them, and they can't go ahead of us unless we throw more points away for the rest of the season than them. So it's in our hands. It was disappointing, but it's in our hands. It's got to be a win, hasn't it? So are we looking at Curtis, Dominic, Endo again, or do we need to mix it up a bit? Would we have Trent starting in midfield? Are we going to stick him at right back? Do we want Joe there?
I think this is where Klopp earns his money.
Yes, exactly.
Because, a lot of people have different opinions on it. We come away from the ground last night having conversations, we were walking away thinking, he's now got some real big decisions to make for the weekend, because how can you drop this player? How can you drop that player? Does this player come back in or whatever? And, you can probably pencil in 7 or 8 of our starting lineup at the weekend, and then there's a hell of a lot of question marks as to where the other players go. And given what we've seen last night, there's genuine hard decisions to make. I think Alisson is going to come back in goal, and your centre halves are going to be Kanate and Van Dijk, because they're the most senior centre halves. As we just mentioned about Quansah, if Quansah lined up Would I have any qualms? No.
No.
And that's the biggest amount of praise I can give to that kid. But he's going to bring his big two back in. I think we saw last night, they got swapped around about the 55-hour mark or something like that, just to keep the legs ticking over.
Yeah.
I would imagine Costas is left back because he also came off. He had a good run out and another very solid performance. And again, in reference to what you just mentioned earlier on, that competition for places. If Andy Robertson was available, there now is a genuine conversation I think to be had, because Costas has really stepped up in the last few weeks as to would you put Andy Robertson straight back in, or has he got to earn his place? I think he should be in. Time will tell on that one. And then I think the coveted right back, inverted right back position, whatever you want to label it as, I think we have to start Gomez, because he's been our best performer in a few games over the last few weeks and did himself no harm last night. Played right back, played left back. Arsenal have got talent in wide areas, and let's just, as we said before, let's make it simple and make it straightforward in terms of let's have fullbacks doing fullback things and not leave ourselves open and exposed. And then that then does raise the big question is, well, where does Trent Alexander-Arnold play? Does he start? Well, probably, because he's got such on-ball ability, but where does he start?
Yeah.
And we've seen the substitution last night for Endo when he went into the nominal number 6 midfield position, but Endo did himself no harm. I think that the likelihood is Trent's to start. I would prefer him to be in that position over Endo, not based for anything other than what Trent can do on the ball is a lot more creative in what we can do in possession than what Endo can do, with all due respect to him. But I think maybe Endo is naturally a bit more defensively solid, but maybe in a game like this we're going to need athleticism, and Trent's speed across the pitch might just be what tips that in his favour.
Yeah, I'm going to need the creativity, definitely. And
then I think you can't drop Curtis Jones. You literally can't. If you do, then that's a very hard conversation for Jürgen to have. And as it was again, he's had a flat few weeks, but maybe he's been stunted in sort of his positioning. But last night he was imperious again. He'd come off early, so it does sort of tip the suggestion bucket in the favour that he's going to start the weekend. Well, got a run out and got a goal, didn't do much else. Skied one into the cop, but
yeah, I was thinking that Nunez set him up, and then he went right up.
Had a shot, hit the post with a tip. Had to keep it on say that goes in.
If that had been the other way around, those two players, there'd have been back page news about Nunez, wouldn't there?
Oh, lambasted for it. And then I think that there is a genuine conversation to be had. I'd go with Gakpo and Nunez left, because I don't think Diaz looks on it at the moment. And I think listening to last night's Raw this morning, the lads on it, Dave and Carl, and Dave and Trev, sorry, big guy, were right in saying, Darwin just makes things happen. He doesn't just meander through a game and nothing goes on around him. He's not scored for a while, but he's involved in goals. He set one up last night. He could have technically had another assist sort of, as Sal not skied it high and wide. And he looks a threat, and with all due respect to Luis Diaz, he doesn't look a threat at the moment. So you've got to put your best weapons out there, and I would like to see that team. Will Jürgen put that team out? Remains to be seen, but I think that might just be the best we can actually put out. We might be fortunate, and Diogo Jota might potentially make the bench, but I think we're clutching at straws there.
A lot, yeah. Maybe 10 minutes at the end if we need him.
Yeah, and then that it does then. It gives opportunity. Javier, he's done well last night, but go on there and prove to me why he should be starting if he comes off the bench and he's done well. If Gravenberg's available off the bench, we'll go and prove to me why I should be starting you over Curtis Jones next game. And Luis Diaz, you've been taking up the team. If Darwin starts left, will go and show me that you're the best player for the left hand side. And we ain't got too much else in terms of squad availability, but, you know, having options available to us is what we need, and unfortunately we haven't got too many, but with what we've seen last night, there's lads there who are hungry and want to stake a claim, and that's all we can really ask for, but we've got to go nominally as strong as we can, because this game, as you say, it's an opportunity to right last weekend's wrongs in terms of the result and possibly the performance. But, you know, you win this and you top of Christmas, and what more could we ask for?
Exactly, and you top and no one can catch you at least at that point, you know, on that weekend or wherever you top, you stay top. Draw's not good enough because it just opens it up to more people. I think, personally, you know, reading between the lines and all the rest of it, I think the fact Joe played all the game, both full-back positions, tells me that he's probably not going to start at the weekend, but we'll see. I think I can just see him playing Trent. Not saying I agree with that, but I can see him playing Trent at right back. I think, I don't know, I just don't think he's ready to change that just yet, but we'll see. Also, I think another interesting one with Elliott is maybe not for Saturday, thinking longer term. Mo's going to be going missing for a bit after Christmas for the African nations, isn't he? So that berth is going to be available for someone to stake a claim to, at least. I mean, you fully expect Mo to come back from his African Cup of Nations exploits and straight back into the side where he always is, but you know, maybe there's an opportunity there for someone to give Klopp another tough decision to make. I agree with you about Nunez. I mean, a few people said this as well. It's not been working just lately for him, but as in getting it into the back of the net. But what he does is he's just outstanding. I've been a bit frustrated with his offsides of late, but he didn't do too badly with that last night. And just having him on the left, it's just another option, isn't it? And then that does open up that whole competition thing as we're talking about. So Luis Diaz maybe doesn't get to start on the left, frustrated that he can't start on the left, gets to come on later on in the game, makes a difference in training, all the rest of it. Again, Costas, I agree, when he signed his new deal, we're thinking, okay, not bad, he's good to have as a second choice left back, and then he started to play badly when he signed the new deal, but he's found his feet again, and it's good to know there's so many players who are finding their feet again. But I think, you know, Klopp will make his decision on the 11 players who start, but I think Klopp's kind of also made a decision on the 12th man, hasn't he? Because, I'm not sure the exact quote, I'll find it in a sec, but he's not happy with the sound at Anfield. Now, I've not seen the thing in full context, and when I heard it, I thought, well, if he'd have said that after the Man United game, watching it from a distance, he sounded quiet that game. And it's not just about the singing. Atmosphere is not just about the singing. People sometimes forget this. It's about the shouting. It's about the being on the ref's back. It's about warning your midfielder there's a man on. It's about making the opposition defender panic when they've got the ball coming at them because the noise is so loud. That's what the atmosphere is. The singing's part of it, but it's not the be all and end all. And that's what to me was lacking at times, and it has done a lot over recent years. Just that idea that if you're not a Liverpool player, everything you do, you're going to get lambasted for, you're going to be worried about, it's going to make you think twice in the wrong way. When you are a Liverpool player, you're going to get so much support behind you, so much positive noise that it spurs you on to do more. And we've not had that as much. And certainly off the TV, I wondered if it was because it was to try and drown out some of the usual disgusting Man United chanting, but it just seemed so quiet on the TV. Last night didn't seem quiet, but I think one thing I said when I did Raw after the United game was if you do get to go to Anfield, for games like this, got to bring your God with you, haven't you? You've got to bring that with you. And if you can't, honestly, maybe it's time to just sort of, graciously hand your ticket over to somebody else.
Deep underground, the Jelly Belly factory, Bibi is in her secret laboratory creating the weird and wild flavors of Bean Boozled.
I've done it again!
Is it pomegranate or old bandage? Dare to compare. Bean Boozled, 6th edition. Are you brave enough?
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, I think Klopp comments were, the warranted in some respect, but I thought the atmosphere was decent last night from my position. And I always say, I'm skewed because I stand towards the back of the Kop, which, it's the bastion of noise and it's where most of the songs do start. But, my brother sat in the Upper Annie Road last night and he said it was lively up there. It's now open, 7,000 fans for the last 2 games, and I think that contributes. It's potentially now bringing, noise from all 4 sides of the ground. And I think, what Klopp's comments were, the noise behind me was poor. But, let's be truthful and honest here. The people sat behind Klopp in the main stand are journalists. So, the journal and the press section is up there. There's the luxury corporate section where, you see the likes of Kenny Dalglish and Rush and, and the like. And with all due respect to those gentlemen and what they've done for the club, I can't see them getting up and screaming and shouting and swinging their scarves around their head. And, they've got every right to stand there and sit there and enjoy the hospitality in the football. But the tickets as well in that stand are expensive. They're the most expensive in the ground. And, let's remember, football is a working class team. Liverpool is a working class city. And for a lot of people, and I'll include Evertonians in this, for the sins, going to Goodison Park, going to Anfield on the weekend and paying your money, your hard-earned money, because football isn't a cheap game these days. It's an opportunity to leave your troubles at the turnstile and you go in there and you focus on football for a couple of hours, and you might scream, you shout, you might say some obscene things, in terms of foul language, and, you hear things that you probably wouldn't hear at other parts of the world and in every walk of life, and it can be frustration. But most of the time, your actions and your thoughts are purely directed on your team and hoping that they can get a positive result at the end of the day. And if you are fortunate enough to afford the hospitality in the corporate seats in the main stand, I can't imagine you're wanting to be there to release tension. You're probably there for the entertainment and the hospitality package, and you're not probably going to be standing up and screaming and shouting. And maybe that's what is in Klopp's peripheral hearing, that behind him can be quite quiet. But from other sections of the ground, I think it can be lively, and it is lively. And you asked the question earlier on, does it come from the players or the fans? I think the initial starting point is the fans, because the first song from when the players on the pitch started sung is "You'll Never Walk Alone" right before kickoff, and there can be a bit of extra spice in that. And if the passion is felt around all sides of the ground, would you never walk alone? And straight away, if you've been to any Liverpool game at any time, the Kop will burst into voice straight away, and the songs begin as soon as the team kicks off, and then it goes hand in hand. You want to see it. You want to see a good solid challenge. You want to see an effort on goal nice and early, and then it's the momentum of the players spurring the fans on, the fans spurring the players on, and the atmosphere builds, and it can make players crumble, as we've seen in the past. But I think what Klopp has done is, he's fed the headlines to those who may want to mock the Anfield atmosphere, and at times it can be a little bit flat. Let's not kid ourselves here, because it can be. But he understands the magnitude of this game on Saturday, and what's at stake, as we've just said, is going top of the table and putting your nose in front. And then it's highly unlikely, but if you remain perfect for the rest of the season, the title is yours. as you say, it's in your own hands to the extent of, if you're ahead and every result goes your way, it's yours. But this is a big opportunity, and last weekend for many felt like a missed opportunity. So he wants every single person, all hands on deck, to give everything he can, because we've seen Arsenal can crumble at Anfield. We've seen Arteta lose his rag at Anfield.
Yeah,
and he knows just putting them extra, couple of percentages in our favour could what might be tips the result in our favour, and it might be, to many it might just seem like he's having a dig at the fans, but I think what he's also doing is he's just also trying to tip the odds in our favour ever so slightly, and he's a smart man. He knows what he's doing, and I think he's done it before and said we need the power of Anfield, and I'm sure everyone who is fortunate enough to be in attendance on Saturday evening will duly oblige and give all they can.
I think, Klopp's comment actually looking at it was, he said, I thought in the first half when the boys played really exceptionally, I wasn't overly happy with the atmosphere behind me. And you're right. I mean, there's that whole tier of expensive seats, which quite often during the game, there's loads of empty red seats, because obviously must be on the fourth course of food coming through for the meals at the back now or whatever. I was offered a ticket for one game, wasn't a major game, might have even been a League Cup game, for one of these lounges, and I was offered it basically below face value, and face value was 320 quid. I'm thinking, what the hell did you get for the other 360 quid, or the other 260, 70 quid or whatever it is? I've never had a meal that cost that much. I like seeing ex-players talk and things, but you're not going to pay that much for him. To tell you the quick anecdote, it just seems, I don't know, but the club, nobody can get it. That's the thing. Those as far as I'm aware, those tickets sell out. I mean, if you went on the website now for the Arsenal game and looked for the hospitality tickets, I bet there's not a single one available for that game. It's your best hope of getting a ticket if you don't know someone who can get hold of one for you. But they do sell out at those mad prices, so they're obviously making the money. But you're right. I used to go to the game years ago. I used to go with my mates. We could go on the Cop. We could have, one lad could have a season ticket, one lad could not. One lad could get there late because work or whatever, the others could get there early. And the thing is, it was less than £3 to get in, even allowing for inflation. I always say this, it was about the price of it was 90p for a pint in the pub, the Albert, and it was £2.70 to get in the Cop. So it's like the equivalent of 3 pints to get into the Cop. Even the most there's no pints that cost that much now, even with all the inflation and the rest of it, and even with the better ale that you get now than you did then. That then meant, though, that whoever you were, you could get in the Cop and stand with each other. You stood with your mates. You're making a din. And another thing as well was, I reckon, is that, I was still young when the Cop stopped being, relatively young, when the Cop stopped being standing ground. I reckon that there comes a point where people got too old for the Cop, and more room was made for the next generation. But I don't know. I'd love to know what the average age of the fans at the matches now as well. And that's not to say older people can't make it in, because they can. But younger fans definitely have plenty of energy. Younger fans coming with the mates. No inhibitions whatsoever. They make a lot more noise sitting together. But instead, what happens time and again is that, there's half a dozen mates, they're all in the pub beforehand, and then they're all sitting in 6 different parts of the ground, because you just don't get tickets together. And it's, the way of getting tickets is such a pain nowadays. You can't pay on the day, which is what we used to do. And then another thing that's changed as well is the Cop are definitely noisy. You can hear the Cop singing, but if you're on that upper main stand, you can hardly hear the Cop singing unless the lads at the front start joining in, lads and ladies start joining in, because the way the ground is now, you can probably see from where you're stood on the Cop, you can't really see the upper main stand.
I can't see the upper main or the upper Danny Road.
Yeah. So
and I'm not at the very back.
No.
I'm row 62, and the middle of the Cop goes back to row 73, 74, I think it is. So I'm by no means at the back, but yeah, if I want to see the upper tiers of those stands, I've got to come down to about row 40ish.
Yeah.
To even get them in into eye line. And
and it's like lorry drivers with those signs. If you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. Well, if I can't see you, I can't hear you either. Almost, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose it's the construction of the stadium, and there's not much more we can probably do.
No.
There's these stadiums like bowls, which acoustically are designed for the sound to bellow and echo around, and yes, they might enhance the vocality of the people and make sure it's more acoustically appealing. Maybe that's something that they change the angle of the cop roof or something like that. I don't know. That maybe opens it up a little bit more. And
I was thinking, what if they bring the lads from the back to the front? I mean, it's going to upset people because they like being at the back and all the rest of it. But make it safe standing as much as you can from the front of the cop stand, and persuade the noisy lot from the back to be more towards the front. Because, I mean, if you look at those old videos of the cop, like from the 60s when they were singing Beatles songs and things like that, everyone at the front was singing as well. And I don't know, if you've been at the front of the cop, it's like, I mean, because they're the ones who get told to sit down first as well, aren't they, and all the rest of it, and that kills the atmosphere a bit. Make it safe standing, make it at the front, and bring the noise to the front as well, and then everyone on the ground can hear it.
I think it's one of these conversations which you could put 25 people around the table and there'd be 25 different views, and not ever one answer is fully correct, not ever one answer is fully incorrect. But it is an issue, and while we were just speaking and I had a little look, there is hospitality tickets available for the weekend.
All right.
If you've got £594 to spare, you can get yourself in one of the lounges, and you'll be situated in M3, which isn't actually a motorway. It's actually the middle section of the main stand, which is to the left of the dugouts, towards where the Anfield Road is. Or however, if you want to treat yourself and you want to sit behind the dugouts in M6 and enjoy your hospitality lounge, you can shell out £960. And tickets available in the main stand on the whole are usually around £60, so over £900. You might want kind at least to save your dinner for you.
Yeah, and you don't make noise. You're expecting someone to make your noise for you when you're paying that much, aren't you?
Oh, of course, and that obviously goes with the standard of like a clothing attire to go with it. You're not allowed to turn up when you scruff. You've got to be well presented, and I think you're allowed to wear your scarf. There might be some clauses where you can wear a match day shirt or whatever, and probably has to be bought from the club shop and fit into an A3 clear plastic bag. But they're other topics of discussion. But yeah, I think bringing it back, the atmosphere, people call it a myth, but there is something special about Anfield when it's lively and when all four sides of Anfield are up and making it hostile and intimidating, and that's what we need to do. We need to power what we've got, and also having those extra 7,000 in. I do want to get myself down the Anfield Road. It'll probably be next season now, that I actually get it, or possibly actually in the European games. I think my tickets are situated in the Upper Anfield Road, so it'd be nice to experience that. But it's got to be, as you say, twofold. The team have got to inspire the people in the stands, as well as the lads in the stands and the ladies in the stand making noise for inspiration for the team. And yeah, we've seen what it can do to Arsenal. We can see what it can do to Arteta. I think that's what I hope. Anyway, that's what Klopp's sort of playing. The old Fergie mind games as it used to be. You get 1-0 up before you even got on the pitch by putting seeds in other people's minds, and I hope that's what we're doing. Anyway.
Yeah, and Bill Shankly was probably the person who kicked all that mind game stuff off. So Alex Ferguson just adapted it and stole a bit of credit, I reckon. But I'm biased. So what do you think? One reason to make a note as well, just briefly on it. Refereeing appointments, as always, great choices for us over the festive period. Is it Chris Kavanagh for Arsenal, the Arsenal game? Craig Pawson, fourth official, Coots on VAR. And then, who was it again for the Burnley game? Our mate from down the road, who's definitely not a Man United anti-Scouse kind of person, because he doesn't support because he lives in Wigan.
Yeah, I think, isn't it Christmas Day, Boxing Day fixtures, they try and ensure that teams don't have to travel too far. Hence why we've only got Burnley away. Obviously, the geography of teams in the league changes year on year, but they try and keep it as local within reason. So why not keep the rest local within reason? And us travelling to central Lancashire means probably best place to get a referee from Greater Manchester, aren't we? Mr. Turney. So yeah, he might make it home, for the Baileys and, a couple of late nights, Boxing Night TV editions. But it does feel as though, we're getting the same referees in rotation on a very regular basis, and our good old friend Mr. Simon Hooper's on VAR, whether he'll be awake or whether he might have had a couple of too many eggnogs, will remain to be seen. Just on that last night, it was so refreshing as well to see Salah's goal and there was no VAR. So quick glance, the linesman slags down, you can go full metal celebration.
Yeah.
That just taking that seed of doubt away. Yes, there was situations that happened in the Carabao Cup this week where VAR would have intervened and maybe led to red cards or whatever, but it was so refreshing to enjoy a goal and celebrate it without the VAR check will be taking place, other than the impending 4 minutes of people trying to draw lines that aren't even straight. But yeah, that's just basically if we are going to have to endure Boxing Day at Burnley, then we might as well throw in Paul Tierney in for good measure, and I'm sure he won't be coming with his festive hat on. He'll be coming well and truly with his Scrooge hat on.
I wouldn't be surprised if if we spot him actually with his festive hat on, trying to summer lift off the Liverpool coach at Addock Island or something on the M6, but we'll see.
Well, if he's got a hat, at least he might not look as bad as David Moyes last night, who looked like something out of Home Alone.
Yeah, but he always has done, hasn't he? And we didn't have time to talk about this. I mean, we'll just mention it, and I think we'll definitely be talking about it later. At some point, the European Super League has all come back into the headlines again because the European Court of Justice says it's wrong for FIFA and UEFA to basically ban anyone else from coming along and running sport. And I think that's a fair thing, to be honest. I think, without going on about it too long, I think FIFA and UEFA and the FA shouldn't be money-making outfits. They should be regulatory bodies that don't make money, that maybe take money in and distribute money out to in good ways. But they shouldn't be getting, it shouldn't be full of people who are getting rich off the back of doing funny handshakes to get tournaments held in certain places or wherever. And straight away, the Premier League has sort of, the Premier League notes today's judgment and continues to reject any such concept. But the truth is, when Super League was kicked off, the whole thing came out. Everyone was up in arms about it for various reasons. But the UEFA, FIFA, the Premier League, the FA, that lot were clearly up in arms about it because it was going to take their power away and take away their way to make money. What have they done in between that day when we first heard about Super League and today, when we hear this judgment? What have they done to make it better for fans? What have they done to make the game more accessible to people who are sort of from the working class backgrounds and so on? They've done nothing, so they can shut up. Yeah, so I'm sure we can get onto that more next time we're on. But I just hope this time the press don't just get on this great big bandwagon and sticking up for the likes of FIFA, UEFA, and the broadcasters who are paying a load of money so that we can spend a load of money so they can make a load of money. Football's got a lot of stuff wrong with it, but there's a lot of stuff we can get right as well, so I hope we can. But anyway, that's it. We should probably leave it there for this week. Not sure when we'll be back. We'll see what we can fit in. If we can't fit anything in over Christmas, we'll do our best, but we'll definitely not be fitting anything in before Christmas. So from me and Jay, thanks as always for listening, and have a Merry Christmas, which hopefully when you wake up on Christmas morning, you'll be thinking back to 3 points and Liverpool top of the league. Well, that's it for us for now. So see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.